friends, for those of you who are new, welcome. I'm Lauren-Jane, I'm the surgical doctor. I am a mother of two, doctor, training to be a surgeon, went to medical school after having first baby, second baby born recently. For those of you who aren't new here, welcome back, it's lovely to see you. Today I'm going to be talking about imposter syndrome, which has been haunting me like Winston Churchill's black dog. That's what Winston Churchill used to call his depression. So what we're going to do is we're going to get into it, and I'm going to tell you about my imposter syndrome, and then I'm going to tell you the physical concrete step that I have done to help get rid of it, and hopefully that will help you too. Let's get into it. Let's see. Buongiorno, welcome back. So if you have been following my recent videos, you'll see that since I started core surgical training in August of this year, that my self-esteem has gone a little bit like this. And I've definitely been feeling like I'm not good enough to be on the core surgical training program. Now, this is not an unusual feeling for me. It took me a long time to pass the GAMSAT. That's the exam that you take to get into medical school, and all the way through med school I kept thinking that sooner or later I'm going to get an email from someone who says, oh, I'm very sorry, we got your GAMSAT score wrong, you shouldn't be in medical school. And even after getting all the way through med school, finishing finals, passing finals, I said to my other half, if they find out now that I didn't get past the GAMSAT, can they take my medical degree off me? And he was like, this is ridiculous. No, you know, this is a ridiculous line of thought. But I think for quite a long time, I felt that I'm not good enough, especially for medical school, and certainly not good enough to be doing surgery. So imposter syndrome is that feeling of feeling like you're not good enough, that you are effectively an imposter in a situation that you don't belong in. And I think this was first described about 50 years ago. It's very common in women, but it's also common in minority ethnic groups, in people who don't identify as being cisgender, and in people who are gay. And I think this is because this is people who are singled out as being slightly different from the main thrust of people who have gone through medicine, for example, or different, you know, kind of other environments. And I think, to be honest, I think if you polled everyone, you know, everyone in the world, the majority of people would have some experience of saying, I don't necessarily feel like I belong in this amazing thing. I think you'd find that the people who are really confident in themselves are more the exception than the rule. However, it's good to know that other people feel like we do, but it actually doesn't make us feel any more safe and confident and secure in our environment. So I recognise, intellectually, I recognise that lots of other people feel like I do. I'm from a working class background. I'm one of the first to university in my family, and I had a child before I went to medical school. So all of these things made me feel different than the rest of my cohort, and certainly made me feel like I didn't belong. So I understand why I have imposter syndrome, and that's a good place to start. So if you're a person who's got imposter syndrome, which I guess is why you're watching this video, the first thing to think, I think, is to work out, why are you feeling like this? And I think that's helpful because I've actually realised that these things make me feel a bit more empowered, you know? I went to med school with a baby. You know, I'm a woman in a field that was traditionally for men, medicine and surgery. And I think that is something that you can find empowering. But that hasn't gotten me far enough. And if you've been watching my videos lately, you will see that I have found surgery very difficult. My surgical skills weren't fantastic. But I think more than that, there was a big part of me that just thought, I'm not good enough to be here. And that has caused me a lot of mental angst over the last 4 or 5 months. So I've been thinking, I've been talking to you about it, and a lot of you have told me on Instagram that you feel exactly the same way as me. So I thought we need to find a way to deal with this. Now, has decided to make me something. So I recognise that imposter syndrome is in my head. Now, but I have conquered parts of my imposter syndrome. So when I first qualified as a doctor, I could not get around the idea of being a doctor. I didn't want anyone to call me a doctor because I felt like I was taking a title that I hadn't earned, I didn't belong to. And actually, the longer I've worked as a doctor, the more that I'm comfortable with that. I don't feel like as an imposter as a doctor anymore. I feel like as an imposter as a surgeon, but not as a doctor. So I appreciate that the imposter syndrome is in my head and that no amount of achievements can necessarily completely get rid of it, because you can always find a way to go, oh, well, yeah, I did this thing, but I've not done that thing. And you can keep moving that bar for yourself, and that's dangerous. However, because I have found that in achieving things like, you know, being a doctor for a couple of years has made me feel less of an imposter, I decided to make myself a little poster. And I'm going to show you this poster. Now, I designed this myself, I had it printed. What I have agreed with myself is that when I have checked all of these boxes, that I will not tolerate from myself, ever, any kind of negative thought that I am not a surgeon or that I do not belong. So that's the thing. The tricky thing about this is you don't want to set the goals too outrageous that you're never going to achieve them and you're going to suffer with imposter syndrome in the meantime. But also they need to be the sort of goals that you're setting that mean that when you've surpassed them, there's no argument with yourself that you are a surgeon. So these are all pretty lofty, to be honest. I have to pass ATLS, that's next weekend. Part A and Part B of my surgical exams are pretty big, they'll take a while. Lap pass is a qualification that I'm going to do soon, which is surgical skills. And I want to do an appendicectomy start to finish. So some of those things they'll take me a little bit of time, like passing Part B, etc, etc. But actually I haven't put be a consultant. I haven't put have 7 years of surgical experience. I haven't put like replace a heart on your own. These, so an appendicectomy, for those of you that aren't medical, is an index procedure, which means it's something that everyone at my level is working towards doing. And actually, I've already done most of the parts of this operation on my own. So this is not something that's massively, you know, off the wall. So I think the key to this, if it works, and I'll update you as a video, is to choose things that you. So I sat for a long time and thought what was going to go on this list. And the things that were going to go on there are things that, you know, if I can do an appendicectomy on my own start to finish, I'm a surgeon, right? The reason that I included these is because when I have passed Part B here, I am a member of the Royal College of Surgeons, and I would swap from being doctor to miss. You can't really argue with that as being a surgeon. So I felt like those two were important. And these two are much smaller goals. But they're the achievable things that I'm probably going to cross off in the next few months to make me feel like I'm progressing. Because the last thing that you want to do is have lofty goals that are 2, 3, 4 years ahead. I mean, this hopefully won't take me that long. But the last thing you want is goals that aren't, you know, you're not seeing any progression on this because you're just going to chuck it out the window. So I did this on Canva, and they charged me to print it off, but I thought it was worth it if it stops me feeling like I'm completely rubbish at everything. So my imposter syndrome hates. And then when I tick these things off, I am a surgeon. And this is what I'm doing to tackle my imposter syndrome, because frankly, why should I go through the rest of my life feeling like I'm not good enough? And if we're all doing that, if you're sitting at home feeling like this, and everyone else watching this video is also feeling like this, what is the point? What is the point in all of us walking through life quietly, feeling like there's like one guy in the department who feels like he should be there, and the rest of us are all just walking around like, I'm rubbish, I'm so terrible. It's just not, it's too short, it's not worth it. So this is what I'm doing, and I wanted to make the video because I wanted to share it, so hopefully it helps you too. Please leave me comments if you have any. What I will do is I'll do an update video, and I'll tell you if this helps. It won't be anytime soon because obviously this is an ongoing thing. But yeah, I feel good, I feel positive, and thank you for being with me on this journey. I really appreciate it. Have a lovely day. Please like and subscribe if you don't already.